Hi, everyone. I'm Jaime Vaughn with How She Got There, a Next In podcast. And today our guest is Beth White. She's the CEO and Chief Bot of MeBeBot. Hi, Beth. How are you?
Hey, Jamie, I'm doing great today. Thank you.
I'm great. So we want to share your amazing story and how you created MeBeBot. But first, tell us, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Oh boy. Yeah, this is one of these things where you have this vision perhaps when you're a child, and then it definitely changes through life's
Mhm.
evolution. So
Right.
it's kind of strange. I always wanted to be an attorney, which is very strange that a child would want to do that, but maybe it was some of the glorified TV shows you would have
Mhm.
seen when you were a kid, but that was not the trajectory I took at all, So, now as a founder of a technology company, my journey has been very nonlinear in its path.
So, what was the education route that you ended up taking?
Yeah, so I did have the fortune of being able to go to college. So I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison, and when I started, and I had at the time been living in Wisconsin, it was one of those things where parents said, pick an in-state school, and that was one of the better schools in the state, also
Mhm.
very affordable. So that's where I went. It was in the era where I didn't apply to a lot of schools. I just
Mhm.
went to Madison. I'd visited there before. It's a great public university and has a lot of opportunity in a lot of different areas of
Mhm.
of majors, so that if I did decide to kind of change my mind, I would have that opportunity. So I always had a focus of, the international world. So my undergrad is in international relations,
Oh, wow.
and then I layered in history because I was taking a lot of history classes as part of the international relations major. And it was really a recommended, one of the recommended paths to being pre-law
Mhm.
before law school. But in that process, I really, frankly, became very fascinated with history. I had an opportunity to work at the student newspaper, the Daily Cardinal, where I was able to be a journalist in a time where print was very well received and, embraced, and loved it. But really saw a lot of the world of journalism changing away from print to digital. And, there was a point in my career where I thought I was going to even, in my major, where I thought I was going to move to journalism, but I held the course and graduated with a BA in international relations and history.
Oh, I love that. Our CEO went to University of Wisconsin.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Or,
It's an awesome school.
yeah, and or not our CEO, our COO, and he
Okay.
he will say, "Go Badgers" all day long. I think he played football for them too, so
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's great.
So, um, so how did that lead you into this career in technology? I mean, did you go straight to law school, or did that get derailed a little bit and you took a different path?
Yeah, that actually got pretty derailed. So, luckily, I had the wherewithal to say, I'm not sure I'm ready to just jump into law school.
Mhm.
So I had applied, and been accepted, but I decided to defer that, and instead, I had an opportunity to go live and work abroad. So, if
Wow.
anyone's out there, there's a program called BUNAC that's available in the U.S., Canada, and other countries, where you can get a temporary student work visa and work in another country that's supported by this program, as long as you're either in school or recently graduated. So I had a chance to move to London. I actually did continue a bit of journalism in London, working for a publication there. And then when the visa expired, I did come back to the US. And at that point, I was like, I'm not so sure about law school. So I had a bunch of friends from college move west to Portland, Oregon,
Mhm.
and I moved out west, and my life started to take a different trajectory when I moved to Portland. I started to pursue a few other things before I even ended up where I am today.
I'd love to hear about that story.
Yeah, so when I arrived in Portland, it was kind of at the point when that city was really growing and
Mhm.
changing a lot. They were very known for their infrastructure and city planning. So at the time, I started pursuing a master's in public administration or urban planning,
Okay.
and thought I was going to follow that trajectory. And then I was moonlighting, bartending, and waiting tables for McMiniman's Pubs and Breweries. So I was working in the very early days of the microbrew industry.
Okay.
So it was super fun because I was literally working with entrepreneurs and
Mhm.
innovators. I mean, they were repealing laws on the books about being able to microbrew. And this was still very in its early stages in the US. And just watching these two entrepreneurs, Mike and Brian, grow their business, I had a chance to actually move from being working with inside their restaurants to being part of the HR team. They said,
Oh,
we
wow.
love to have people that are part of, who have been doing this job actually help hire people to do
Mhm.
that job. So really, I went from thinking about being an urban planner to having this part-time gig that ended up surfacing a full-time job in HR. And I never had an idea that there was a job called HR, human resources, and didn't really know what the path was to get there. But I had a little segue in and I took it. And frankly, it was a great fit for me. It was a good fit where it combines the people element and the
Mhm.
business side of things. And so McMinimans gave me my start in HR, and I helped be part of a team that grew their employee base from a couple hundred employees to over 1,200 employees in about 5 years. So, very exponential growth, and really just kind of sunk my teeth and started to learn on the job of
Mhm.
what this role of HR was and how to support employees and having amazing experiences working with their employer. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Oh, that's so neat. So how did MeBot come along?
So, Portland's a beautiful city. I still
Yeah.
miss it, but it rains a lot. So there was a point where I was like, well, I felt like I upgraded a bit from moving from Wisconsin because I wasn't dealing with freezing winters and cold,
Mhm.
but I wanted a little sunshine. And so I started looking at cities that, combined a bit of Portland. I loved my experience at Madison and found Austin, Texas. So I moved to Austin, Texas, and really I call it the very beginnings of what became now we are considered like the Silicon Hills, a mini tech community. And I was here on the early days. So when I made the decision to come to Austin, many of the jobs, and especially in HR, were in the technology industry. So I moved to Austin. I began working in HR for a lot of technology companies, hiring developers, hiring technical resources, learning about software, and really realized I was pretty good at picking up technology, not only to be able to hire talent to work for the companies, but to also, embrace it as part of my job and my role in, HR and recruiting. I always was looking at ways that this is broken, this takes too long, this is too admin heavy. How do you do something about it to make it faster?
Right.
And so I became a super user of a lot of technology tools while, really learning a lot about technology through the people I worked with.
Mhm.
So that's really how I got started in technology, is through HR, moving to Austin, being part of a .com in the early days, being part of other larger organizations that were global, in the tech space, and then being part of other what I call emerging tech companies that were on fast trajectory paths. So spent years in HR and got a little bit burnt out. I mean, HR is a tough profession.
Yeah.
I feel for a lot of the folks who have been in it for the last couple of years, because frankly, just like nurses and teachers, they've been caring a lot for the front line of the pandemic and all the different changes in our economy and pressures. And there's ebbs and flow in that profession where it's either hiring frenzy or you may have to make decisions and do reductions in staff and changes. So I reached a kind of saturation point and was given an opportunity by one of my previous, kind of coworkers who was starting a company to join and be part of enterprise sales. So I moved from HR to enterprise software sales. And that was incredibly fun because I really was able to take a lot of my people skills and translate it into how to get people to understand how to solve business problems by
Mhm.
leveraging technology. And that was really where I've gained a lot of my core roots to getting to the point where, business problems need to be solved, and
Uh-huh.
you don't have to be a technologist to start a company to solve them. You just frankly have to know how to hire good people to
Right.
work with you and to
Right.
help you build and grow your vision. And so the company I did enterprise software sales with sold and had an exit, and I had a chance to really rethink things and just really thought about, the world of work. I've always been fascinated with people and work. We spend a third or more of our lives working,
Mhm.
and supporting ourselves and our families. And, I would say there's a majority of the people, which is sad, are not enjoying what they're doing. They
Right.
don't feel valued. They don't feel like they have a career path. They don't feel like it's a good fit for them. And so it's how do you create more meaningful experiences for employees within their workplaces? And then for the employer side, it's how do you create employees that understand that they have a career path with the
Mhm.
company, that they understand that they're supported and valued, and
Mhm.
that really we remove some of the layers in what we're doing of what I call friction and noise, the administrative BS, away from the day to day things that have kind of escalated in a lot of companies where there's just too many. I always think of this fun movie from, 10 or more years ago called Office Space, where
Love
everybody
it.
made fun of the TPS reports,
Mhm.
and there's a reason for that is because there's just some things that have been done at companies that people need to question.
Mhm.
And I think where our tipping point right now of where we're at is there's a lot of great AI technology, automation tools that will help us get out from under the weeds of
Mhm.
antiquated processes and help move us and digitally transform people to be able to free up valuable time to create more meaningful experiences. And so that's really where MeBeBot's vision came to life is like, how do we use technology and solutions to
Mhm.
better the lives of employees and to free up those individuals within companies that spent way too many cycles and time on administrative burdensome tasks that did not provide value back to the business.
Mhm. So exactly does MeBeBot do? So if say Next Level, my parent company, decides to launch this into our integrated systems, what would we expect from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the one key thing to our solution that we have focused on from day one is we want a solution that's easy to use by
Mhm.
employees in their natural, what we call flow of work.
Mhm.
And then for the business, we wanted to provide a tool or solution that allows individual business users to be able to embrace and control it without having high levels of technical expertise internally. So, what MeBeBot would do, for example, your company, is we're an app that installs seamlessly inside Microsoft Teams
Okay.
or Slack, or we even have a web chat so that an employee at a company, when they need support, how do I get, a new insurance card for
Mhm.
medical? When do we get paid? How do I get a copy of my paycheck stub?
Mhm.
How do I get a new badge for the office? All the different types of questions that employees have from payroll, benefits, HR, IT. How do I use the VPN, or how do I update and change this password? Those are the types of questions we want to automate answers for to employees, but very specific to what each business procedure, policy, program is around that specific need. And so to be able to do that, where you can use this type of tool again in Slack, Teams, on your mobile phone within those type of applications, means we are now providing employees with 24/7 support
Okay.
from wherever they are working, because we've now moved to a global workforce.
Mhm.
People are working in hybrid work situations or remote, or frankly, some are back in the office. So, how do you facilitate having a tool that gives employees, no matter where they are, the front door, we call it, to their employer to ask any type of question where they have that type of need, where otherwise they might not need to know who Sarah and payroll may answer the payroll question, and Jim and benefits would answer the question about my insurance card. It's gotten to a point where people just don't have that insight anymore, and especially as companies grow and scale. So we become that first line for support. And then for the business side, what we do is we provide what we call a curated knowledge base of all the different types of questions that are commonly asked across various types of businesses. And we even provide default answers, like this is how other businesses have answered that type of question, so that every business can just simply edit the what we call placeholder values, or the
Mhm.
attributes that make their business unique, and they can launch an AI powered solution to their employees in days or weeks. So by providing them this customer facing portal, that if I'm in HR, IT, facilities, I would be able to go in and control my subject matter expert area of content, where I can just fill out the new answers to a question, especially as things have changed during the pandemic. And then I control what the employee gets to see, which
Mhm.
is really awesome, because at times there's layers of bureaucracy within companies, even if you want to post something to a company intranet.
Mhm.
And this way, the people who are in the know of, for example, if your remote work policy changes, well, the person who owns that and knows how that's different can feel empowered to edit the content so that we are real time serving up accurate answers to employees' information. Um, Also within this customer facing portal is a dashboard that shows data and analytics about the employee engaging with MeBeBot, where we can see how many questions are being answered, by which country, what types of questions. So we're giving people visibility into their people so that they can ideally learn a little bit more about their needs and inquiries, and make sure that they're servicing the employee so they feel well supported.
Mhm. I have worked for some really big organizations in the past and never knew where to go get answers like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, and you're not alone, Jamie.
Mhm.
I recently talked to, well, I was at a conference recently
Mhm.
called HR Technology, and one of the keynote speakers, Josh Bersin, he's an industry leader and thinker in the space of the world of work. And he said at any given company, because we've moved so much technology to the cloud and there's subscription-based software, there's hundreds of tools that everyone's using inside their company, but nobody knows what does which.
Yeah.
And we become, again, that front door that says, how do I submit an expense report? Well, you may not know that Expensify is a tool that they use, but with MeBeBot, we serve up that answer, so we help someone. And the larger and more distributed teams get, the more challenging it is, for an employee to be able to get that support so they feel productive in their day. And meanwhile, the business, it's a problem that's been in existence for many years. And so again, this is going back to like solve problems you had firsthand. So
Mhm.
all the years I was in HR and at different companies, all these types of questions would come my way over and over again. And I'm not alone, because they come into payroll, they come into IT, and IT has ticketing systems, but they're still manually responded to.
Mhm.
And so with chatbot technology, like what we see on our consumer facing websites that pop up and ask for support help, we're that type of equivalent, but very specialized for the types of needs employees have with inside an organization.
Oh, I really do love this idea. I know that the last place I worked, we had 35, I think it was, different places to go for the answers. Like, if I needed to talk about payroll, or I needed to talk about vacation, or I needed, and to have it centralized is mind blowing. Because it
It
was
is.
frustrating, and I just give up sometimes.
And what at the end of the day, I mean, everyone's working at every company to,
Mhm,
update documents and make sure people have things, but
mhm,
it's just never been very agile, very real time. And we're just in a dynamic world, and we need to have that ability to refresh information and again point people to where they need to go. And at times we explain ourselves as we're like the Alexa for the workplace,
mhm,
because when Alexa Siri launched, most people weren't quite sure how to use it. And
right.
obviously, talking into it, the accuracy it took time to build. Well, with MeBeBot, we've curated this library so that the accuracy of answers is 90% or greater,
Mhm,
because we have a unique crowdsourced approach to training our back-end AI data model, which means all of our customers' employees that are asking questions all across the globes are bettering the accuracy of the answers to the questions that employees receive at any individual company. So
mhm.
that's also key, is having this new front door to drive the employee experience is fabulous, but making sure that is pointing to the exact right answer for the employee is also a key piece of the puzzle.
Well, how do you think that we get more women involved in technology, that we make it more accessible for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because I've been in the profession, I've been recruiting into technology for
Mhm,
over 20 years and part of a lot of technology companies. And I can tell you, I used to go to college career fairs where I was happy if I had one or two, students that were graduating with a computer science degree. It's so amazing that that has really shifted.
mhm,
I think the reason a lot of it has improved is because of a lot of this STEM programming with inside schools at a younger age
right.
to really expose men, girls and boys, to having those educations. There's all these Girl Start, Girls Who Code. There's all these types of
Mhm,
programs that are really nurturing that at a younger age, which I think is amazing. But I think one of the things that I see is, women, even, that are pursuing those technical educations, that's great. And there's groups like Women in Technology that really help women propel and gain confidence in their career development. But, asking for what you want, having an idea that, what kind of career path you want in technology can be achieved, and don't wait for things to be handed to you, frankly. It's always one of the key pieces of, of women that I see, is that they just don't ask enough for what they want, to
mhm,
put themselves out there. But I also encourage a lot of people that come out of the business or other adjacent kind of majors or even career paths. Like a great example is insurance.
mhm,
Insurance and processing claims, it's a complicated world.
mhm.
And if you want to be disruptive in that world, somebody who has the business user mentality of what's broken within what they're doing and can actually help, really bring ideas to light of, if we had something that did this, it would be so much better.
Right.
Don't dismiss those thoughts. Really think about those types of ideas that you have, because I believe some of the best technologists and other founders I've met have suffered the pains themselves from a business side, and maybe they aren't technical, maybe they don't know how to make it work to solve it technically. But that's where you get to partner with other
Right.
technology people and bring them into your organization and help realize the vision of what you're solving.
So what is your best career advice that you've ever received?
Try a lot of things, So I think, and you will fail. And don't be
Mhm,
afraid if you fail and something doesn't work out. I thought I wanted to be an urban planner for a year or two. I realized it wasn't really my thing. The lifestyle piece of it, things move very slow, and I like a little faster pace. Working on a 10-year project was just not working for me,
right.
But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't tried it.
Mhm,
So take some chances, go outside your comfort zone, interview people who are doing a job that you find interesting,
mhm.
and ask them for some advice. See how they got into what they're doing, and you probably will be surprised. People take a lot of different paths to get there.
So, Beth, As we wrap up this interview, what inspires you?
What inspires me is just seeing, how many people are coming forward now, taking
Mhm.
chances at younger ages. When I was graduating college, it was expected that you start interviewing, you get the 9 to 5 job, you just
Mhm.
go to a secure type of company where you have a future. It was very traditional.
Right.
What I'm inspired by is, frankly, the Gen Zs and the millennials who are taking more chances. They saw probably their parents and their parents' parents getting into jobs that maybe they never really liked all that much, but they were kind of stuck. They either did it because they moved up and it was, financially most practical for them. But I do see that people exiting college or not even going to college, which, you
Right.
know, I'm probably an outlier here, but if it's not right for you, it's very expensive.
Mhm.
Explore some things and make sure it's a worthwhile investment. And there's a lot of ways to achieve some amazing goals without even structured education. But again, seeing people doing what you may want to do and talking to them and seeing if there's even ways you can volunteer, do things part-time is a way to kind of test the waters for yourself to figure out what works and what doesn't. So I've done a lot of things that haven't quite worked, so and yeah, still I always say I'm still working on it
Yeah.
because I think it's an ongoing process.
I'm always saying I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So,
And I use that expression as well. So
if somebody wants to get in touch with you or MeBeBot, how would they do that?
yeah, well, we have a website, www.mebebot.com,
Mhm.
mebebot.com. I can also be reached by beth.white@mebebot.com. We have a LinkedIn page, we have Twitter account, we have Facebook page, so you can follow us on social media. But, really would love to see, frankly, more women continuing the path to being in technology or in positions, frankly, of leadership within companies. So all waters must rise, right, together. So,
Yeah, love it. Well, Beth, thank you so much for spending time today with us, and I can't wait to see what happens next with MeBeBot.
well, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you inviting me to be on this.
Absolutely.
Just